Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and welcome to our 2017 NFL season preview for the Dallas Cowboys. Now here's a look at what we have on tap for this preview. We will take a look at both sides of the ball in our offensive and defensive overview. We will also give you a reason for optimism as well as a cause for concern. And we will give you a breakout candidate who is an underrated player that'll end up playing a huge role this season. But first, let's take a look at some of the big storylines heading into the season as we get things kicked off in our 4-minute offense. The Cowboys enjoyed record-breaking performances from two offensive rookies in Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Prescott threw for over 3,600 yards, 23 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions, completing 67% of his passes, winning the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year award in the process. Ezekiel Elliott turned in an equally impressive season, leading the NFL in rushing yards with 1,631 and average yards per game, going for 108.7 yards per. This was a big reason why the Cowboys enjoyed a 13-3 record last year, and all eyes will be on this duo to see what they can do for an encore in 2017. The Dallas Cowboys offensive line, which was so dominant all last season, has gone through some reshuffling in the offseason. Doug Free retired and La'el Collins will move to the right tackle spot. Also, inside at guard, there's a bit of a battle between Chaz Green, who played some tackle last season, and former first-round pick Jonathan Cooper and Joe Looney, as well as Kadeem Edwards. They're also in the mix. So needless to say that outside of Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, and Zach Martin, many will be interested in what goes on at left guard and right tackle this season. One of the biggest questions heading into the season for Dallas is along the defensive line, and it's not like they haven't tried to address that concern with the likes of David Irving, Randy Gregory, and DeMarcus Lawrence, all of which are talented but troubled and have missed or are missing time on the field. Both Gregory and Irving are suspended, Gregory for the year and Irving for the first 4 games. And in round 1, the Cowboys drafted Taco Charlton out of Michigan, a move that I question because I don't think he's the elite pass rusher that you look for in round 1. So will they be able to get to the quarterback? Could make or break this defense. And could we see last year's second-round pick Jalen Smith hit the field in 2017? Well, that's the hope for the former Notre Dame star. The Cowboys took a chance on Smith, who had a gruesome knee injury in the 2016 Fiesta Bowl versus Ohio State that all but cinched the fact that he wouldn't be drafted in the first round, if at all. Now, Smith redshirted all last season and has been back on the field doing running and participating in training camp. So we'll see if he'll be ready for full tilt at the start of the season, or will they put him on a PUP list with a designation to return. But either way, it's good to see him finally get back out on the field and back to football. Right now, everyone's record is at 0-0, and every fan is excited about the 2017 season, and every coach feels as though that this year's team has a right mix of everything to push them over the top. Well, here's why you should be optimistic about the 2017 season. There's a lot to be excited about if you're a Cowboys fan. The biggest reason for optimism is the fact that both young cornerstones are in place in quarterback Dak Prescott and running back Ezekiel Elliott. Most teams take a while to find their franchise quarterback and running back, and the Cowboys found them in the same draft. They also added a young stud in wide receiver Ryan Switzer, who will do a lot of damage in the regular offense and also on special teams. And all 3 of these guys will be able to thrive behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. The other reason is that these young cornerstones get to play with the older ones like Dez Bryant and tight end Jason Witten, giving the Cowboys the potential for one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL. I'm also a big fan of the improvements made in the secondary. The Cowboys landed 2 studs in the draft at cornerback in Jordan Lewis out of Michigan and Chidobe Awuzie out of Colorado. Both guys have the matchup skills and ball skills that you look for at the position, and they'll team up with Orlando Scandrick and free agent signing Nolan Carroll, giving the Cowboys some playmaking ability on the perimeter. We've talked about it before, but the causes for concern are along both sides of the line of scrimmage for Dallas. Their defensive line, more in particular their pass rush, is the question. Now, I'm a big fan of their interior defensive line, especially Malik Collins, the defensive tackle. Keep an eye on him. I think he'll have a breakout season, but they have to get a lot of production from the edge. Along the offensive line, it's more about the new pieces in place at left guard and right tackle. Great offensive line play is about continuity and the ability to gel together as one. So putting in some new players will take a little time to adjust, but not much to worry. There's still something to monitor along this offensive line, in my opinion. Every year there's a player on the team that enters the season on the bubble. Maybe he's buried on the depth chart or he's an afterthought, but they end up playing a big role on the team by the season's end. So without further ado, here's my pick for the offensive and defensive breakout candidate. In my opinion, tight end Rico Gathers may be ready for his close-up. The former Baylor basketball player put on an impressive display in the Hall of Fame game and showed that he can at least be a comparable number 2 tight end, something the Cowboys have been looking for for a very long time. If he can continue to trek in the right direction, he has a chance to develop into a serious playmaker. Defensively, Xavier Woods, the rookie out of Louisiana Tech, is one to keep an eye on. In this era of 4 wide receiver sets, a guy like Woods, who can serve multiple roles in the secondary, has a chance to make a lot of plays. It's hard to keep a guy with ball skills on the bench, and even though he's a rookie, I feel like he can make enough plays to where you can see him becoming a mainstay in the lineup. All right, it's prediction time. So here's how I think the 2017 season will play out. The road to the Super Bowl for the Cowboys goes as follows. Number 1, the defensive line has to find a way to the quarterback. I love their run defense. Contrary to popular belief, they did a great job versus the run last season, but they have to find a way to get to the quarterback, and I'm pretty sure the second and third levels will greatly appreciate that. And also, their secondary, with those new improvements, they have to flourish. That was another big weak spot for this Cowboys defense last year. They couldn't make enough plays on the ball. Hopefully, with the rookies in place and the new starter in place in Nolan Carroll, along with Orlando Scandrick, they can definitely improve on that. And if they can, again, this defense can be very good this season. And offensively, their offensive core has to stay intact. Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, Jason Witten, Dez Bryant, and also that offensive line. If they can stay intact for a full 16, this team can replicate the success they had last year. I have the Cowboys finishing first in the NFC East. Offensively, they are set. They can play any style of game that they need to. They can play the high-scoring one with their offense, or they can slow the game down and close out one with their rushing attack. So I think offensively, they're going to be fine. Special teams will be excellent once again. Defensively, I like the second and third levels. I think they made enough improvements in the secondary to be very competitive within their division and those passing attacks that they will have to face. All focus will point to the defensive line. Again, their run defense was solid. I think they'll find a way to be a little bit better as far as rushing the passer, but I do think they have enough to become number 1 in the division once again. So that's a wrap for this video. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts as you see listed. And if you want to check out our NFL season previews, as you already should, visit our website at footballgameplan.com/2017 NFL previews. And then finally, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can find all of our NFL shows, like the Football Cypher, where we go around the table with all of our football game plan analysts and talk about the key storylines heading into the 2017 season for the Dallas Cowboys. You can find this podcast and others on iTunes and also archived on our website at footballgameplan.com/podcast, as well as on our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/FBGP podcast.